Good morning, DFSArmy. Cascade coming at you here on Thursday, August 8th, 2019. Week 1 NFL Preseason. It's finally here, man. We had the one-gamer last week for the Hall of Fame game, but we got a big 11-game slate tonight, and this video is VIP only, man. So all of you guys that are coming back or been with us for a long time, I really appreciate you guys. And I'm going to go through a few plays on just on the DraftKings side, but for preseason it really doesn't matter. No one's getting bonuses. There's a few running backs that might be more DK centric because they're pass catchers. They can rack up more points, but I'll have them in my cash game sheet later. And Chris's sheet is up already, so please check that out. He has a ton of plays out there already, so please check them both out. And hopefully this video will kind of help you construct some lineups. I'm only playing 3 lineups. I don't think I'm an MME here. I think there's enough edge playing cash and single entry GPPs that we can make some money here today. One thing with preseason football you got to know is it's all about playing time. So the guys we're going to recommend, it's all about how often they see the field. We saw that in the Hall of Fame game with Binker getting 3 quarters and basically crushed everything. So they might not be the most talented guys, but if they're on the field getting time is money here in preseason. So another thing is your QB and running back pool are probably going to be pretty small. Those guys are easier to predict. So if you are going to MME, I recommend having just a couple quarterbacks, a pretty small running back pool, as we know who's going to get some playing time here. And then your wide receiver and tight end pool are going to be bigger because it's the most volatile position, and it's just a lot harder to read. And again, defenses don't matter. You can play about any defense, but there's a couple that we really like, especially for cash games, that you can kind of focus on. But yeah, let's get into this, and also as the players come on the field for warm-ups closer to lock, if we see something. Maybe this person's not dressed, and then we can look at the depth charts and kind of see maybe there's a guy we can get on that we didn't know earlier because he's not going to play or he's not dressed or whatnot. So definitely be in tune with our Slack throughout up until lock, because again, it's preseason, anything can happen, and we might get a nugget of information right up until lock that is going to be crucial to you winning any of your games. So with that, let's kind of go start at the quarterback position here a little bit. And really, there's 2 guys that stand out that I would pick in your cash games. And it's one guy won some money in college football last year out of Penn State, and it's Trace McSorley. He's a running quarterback, doesn't throw great, but he's going to play a lot of time here. I mean, Lamar Jackson's not going to play a ton, if at all. Robert Griffin, won't be active, and they signed this Callahan on a few days ago, and he'll probably play live. I'm guessing like a 4th quarter mop-up duty. So a guy like McSorley that could see minimum 2 quarters, if not more, with running upside is fantastic for preseason. So I do like him a lot. If you're going to look, I don't think he's my number 1, but it's close. Anytime you get a running quarterback, you got to love him. The other guy we're looking at for cash games, the one guy that I'm more than likely running is Joe Webb here for Houston. He could see 3 quarters. Deshaun Watson probably not going to see a ton of. AJ McCarron got hurt this week, so he's not around. And I think they just signed out Tamu. I'm not positive. So it might be the Joe Webb show here, and he should see 2.5, 3 quarters, if not more. It really is hard to tell how much time he's going to see. And again, we talked about time is money in preseason. It's really important for that, and so for that, he's got to be the top quarterback overall, just for that. There's other guys you can look at, and you can, again, cross-reference Chris's sheet and see other quarterbacks that you can play for MME. But I still would recommend a very tight pool with quarterback and running back when you're constructing your lineups in cash, or if you're MME and really that allows you, if you only run in 2 or 3 quarterbacks and maybe 5 or 6 running backs or maybe 8, you can really diversify yourself in the wide receiver and tight end range, which is, again, so volatile. So definitely recommend that. So those are the 2 guys I would really look at on the quarterback side. On the running back side, a few guys that we can look at. Let's see, who's one guy that I think is going to be probably chalk city here. He's not a good receiver out of the backfield, but just playing time alone is Scarborough. They're banged up in Seattle backfield. I think the one big news we have to pay attention to is McKissick. If McKissick is out, then Bo's going to be just almost a lock and everything, because they already Procise is out, Homer's out. I don't think they're going to play a lot of Penny. I don't think they'll play a lot of Carson. And so, I mean, Bo could play 3 quarters too. And again, even though we don't catch the ball a lot, you get a running back that's going to play that much time. We just want those points. So he's a guy definitely to consider. And again, if McKissick is out, he's almost just a lock across the board, especially in cash games. Another guy that we want to look at a little bit here is Dexter Williams for the Packers. Now, you're going to see a bunch of Williams in here. You'll see a Williams for Denver, a Williams for Buffalo. But the one we want is the guy on Green Bay. Jamal Williams is not going to play. Aaron Jones is not going to play. They're pretty thin back here. So, the beat writers are talking about how Dexter Williams is going to get a ton of time. And again, it's just one of those plays where you want, time is money. And so when you hear a beat writer talking like that a little bit and you see that they're kind of thin, he's probably running back top 3 for me. But one of the other guys that we're going to look at here at running back that would be one of the top 3 guys for me is Damian Harris. Usually in the regular season, we don't play a lot of Patriots, period, because Belichick will do a little bit of everything. Really don't know what he's going to do. However, when it comes to preseason, we can look at a lot of these guys just aren't going to play. James White, which is fantastic playing regular season, is not going to play today. Sony Michael's not going to play today. Rex Burkhead's not going to play today. Those are all, usually they're the 3 guys are going to look at. So they're going to look at this rookie more than likely. And he can catch the ball out of the backfield. So he's one of those guys you really like on DraftKings. And have no problem playing him on FanDuel or DraftKings. He's definitely going to be one of the top plays. And we could see 2 to 3 quarters out of him as well. And again, when you get any of these guys that are going to see 2+ quarters, you really have to look at plugging them into cash games. There's a couple other guys to look at in cash that I don't mind. Reggie Bonifon's one of them. He's a guy that, again, we're not going to see Christian McCaffrey. This guy catches the ball out of the backfield. I'm pretty sure he was a converted quarterback at some point. I'd have to pull that up and verify, but I'm pretty sure he was. And if we get 2+ quarters out of this guy, he's a pass-catching back, and he can rack up points a ton on DraftKings with that, with a full PPR. So if I was going to build lineups, I might favor him more on DraftKings than FanDuel if I'm deciding which ones I want to play in cash and whatnot. But really high on him for today, and I said I don't mind playing him in cash or GPP. Any of these guys are GPP plays, of course, but in cash, he's one guy to look at. But that would be the 4 I'm probably highest on in cash games. When it comes to roster construction for cash games in regular season and preseason, to me it's the same way. You roll your running back into flex. You don't want to put those volatile positions in wide receiver. Yes, those can win you GPPs because they have huge upside. But in preseason, I would still even roll. In GPPs, I'd still roll 3 running backs, mostly across the board, because they're you're just looking for points and playing time here. Don't mind throwing some wide receiver, but I'd definitely roll more running backs in my flex than I normally would if I was playing regular season. Let's go to wide receiver next. They're volatile. I'm just going to name a handful of guys that we can look at that could be possibly cash. But again, they're extremely volatile, so you could plug in a bunch of these guys, and they could completely bomb. It's just part of the game with preseason. So keep that in mind when you're constructing your lineups here. I think one of the guys we got to look at is, just because of the depth at the wide receiver position for this team, is Ortavius Scott. They're just thin at the wide receiver right now. All their starters aren't going to play, like Mike Williams, Travis Benjamin is not going to play. Keenan Allen's not going to play, of course. So they could really only, a guy like this could play 2 quarters. And again, he's not the biggest guy in the world, but get him out of the slot, catch a few balls. That's really all you're looking for. So I definitely like some Artavius Scott here for the Chargers. One guy that I remember playing last year quite a bit, he plays for my Bears, is Javon Wims. We're probably going to see a lot of Tyler Bray today for the Bears because, he's a guy that's playing quarterbacks in your quarterback pool in MME if you want to. He did well in preseason last year, and Wims was his man. So I can see that kind of going again here because I don't think the Bears will play a lot of their starters, if at all. I know Nagy was talking about not playing much of his starters at all, and so we could see a lot of Wims here early and play a lot with Bray. And they had a connection last preseason, and it's a guy that I like to play in cash just because we've seen it before and we've seen the connection. So he's a guy that's pretty high up on the list to play today for cash games. Another guy we can look at is Antonio Callaway. You might have noticed him from regular season last year. He had a couple really big games, and they're just stacked right now. He kind of got moved down the depth chart when Beckham came over, and they're just stacked in that he's not going to be a first string wide receiver. So moving down into the second string with a talent that he put up points last year, and we've seen some big games out of him. And the one thing that's great about the Browns comes to preseason, for the quarterbacks a little bit, not sure how much they will play, so I wouldn't put them as cash games for quarterbacks, but they got quality quarterbacks as their backups. And Drew Stanton, he started in this league before. So I don't mind playing a guy like Callaway. I know he's more of a burner, but he can catch the ball all over the field, and maybe he wants to, show what he can do to still get some playing time because, again, the Browns got a lot of talent on paper, and he got moved down the depth chart a little bit there. So I don't mind playing some Callaway for that reason. Another guy to look at here. See, one more cash game play that I like. I guess the guy that's getting a lot of buzz all over Twitter when I'm looking. It's Preston Williams. He's a guy that had all the talent in the world, had all kinds of issues, had to transfer schools, and he's just getting a lot of buzz in camp. He's a guy that, if they want to see what he can do on the field, here in preseason, he's the kind of guy that could break the slate wide open. He'd probably be the one guy, if he has the drive, that I would probably be the heaviest on out of all the guys that I've mentioned in GPPs, just because I think he has the highest upside of all of them. Any of these 4 are great for cash, but again, don't just focus on the 4 that I gave you, because there's a ton of other plays, and I don't want to just just don't pigeonhole these 4 plays. Like, check Chris's sheet out. I'm going to put my cash sheet out after I'm done with this video, and I'll list a few more wide receiver plays that I like. But by all means, you're going to want, if you're MMEing, you're going to want to have a big wide receiver pool, just with how volatile it is. And so these are just the guys that I would kind of look at in cash games. And there's again, I would have a 40, in regular season I'd never do this, but I'd have like a 40-man wide receiver pool if I was going to MME this and do 150 lineups. Just the fact that, again, it's so volatile. So I think tight end, again, it's a little tricky because I'm rolling Webb as my cash quarterback more than likely. I'm going to look at a guy here like Kahale Warring. It's his tight end. He should see some targets out of him. You do like to, pair your quarterback with a wide receiver tight end. And I kind of feel like, he could get a lot of work here. Tight ends, again, more volatile even than wide receiver, especially in preseason. So I like looking at a guy like Warring to match up. I'm not saying that he's a must play by any means. Like, any of these tight ends are in play. We could also go back to Noah Fant. We saw him in the Hall of Fame game. I think he saw about 3 or 4 targets. I think he only pulled in 1, but I mean, he's a stud. We saw him. In out of last year college football, and he's a stud. So I don't mind him, even if you didn't want to pair up to Warring and you want to go Fant. I don't mind doing that in preseason, especially in cash games. Like I said, but I'm leaning Warring in my cash games. But a guy like Fant, I have no problem with rolling out as well. One other guy you can look at tight end in cash is good old Indianapolis. I think they carry about 15 tight ends on their roster. It's ridiculous. But I don't think we won't see Jack Doyle. We won't see Eric Ebron. And I don't think we'll see maybe Ross Travis. I think I have to wrote that down. I'll have to look. Hit me back up in Slack. I don't think we'll see him. But I think Ali Cox, we saw him a little bit last year when Ebron was banged up and Doyle was banged up, and we saw him play a few. He's an athletic guy, and I don't mind playing a guy like him because he's got good, red zone. If they're going to get down closer to the red zone and catch some passes, I don't mind playing an athletic guy like Cox. Those would be my 3 guys that I would look at in cash games. But again, there's a ton of guys to look at today, but those are the 3 that I would hone in on when building cash. Next, let's go to defenses. I think defenses, for me, it comes down to 2. And again, if you're MMEing, play a bunch of them because maybe you can get a pick 6 or something, and defenses can win GPPs, which I hate, but they can. But I think your number 1 probably across the board is going to be Miami, and that is just due to the quarterbacks that they are going to go up against. The Falcons, we saw them in the Hall of Fame game, and it's just going to be ugly. I just think we can see maybe a pick 6 here, a couple sacks, and it's like Matt Schaub and then Sims, who they just signed. So yeah, it's not pretty. So the Dolphins are going to be the chalk defense. So if you're running cash, I probably run them. If you want to get a little different, it's kind of like going to the regular season with just the Ravens. It's kind of crazy, but they've got they're going against a Jaguars quarterback crew that's crap. I think they're led by Minshew, which is pretty sad. So to me, it's just pick one of those defenses. It's Dolphins or Ravens in cash. I'm not going to get cute. I don't think you're wrong picking either one of them. I do think Dolphins will be more popular, but I would look at those two. And again, all these plays are just perfectly fine for FanDuel as well. They're just not going to see enough time to get the bonuses. The only guys that I would look at, there's a few running backs that might be more playable on DraftKings and FanDuel, but you can still play them on both. They just won't see the bonuses. They won't see all that time to rack up enough points to matter. But that's kind of how I see the construction of cash today. Again, I'll put that sheet out. These are just a few guys that I think I would look at if making a single entry or cash lineup. It's a big slate, so if you're going to MME, going to keep working on projections until closer to lock, and we'll let you know when they're done. But I think today I would just kind of focus on 1 to 3 lineups because, like I said, you're going to want to be in slack. If we see any kind of guys that are warming up or not warming up as they take the field tonight, it could change a play in a heartbeat because the depth order is going to change. If they're already hurting at running back and another guy's sitting or whatever the case is, it's going to change that play. So it's kind of like not as intense as NBA Summer League like it was if you were around when we made that epic run. But there are going to be some changes closer to lock, I'm sure, with some guys that just aren't suiting up. And it's just finding information out there, and we'll do our best to find it and to feed it to you guys. And again, thanks for being a DFSArmy member. For the guys coming back, it's good to have you back. It's football season. We're pumped around here, man. And it's awesome to get after, man. So really look forward to it tonight. Catch us in Slack. We'll do our best to give you that information, to give you that edge. And let's make them screens green, man. Deuces.